Brandt and Georgia Schlosser. Once again, this is our beginner goat showmanship. They will also announce the champion and reserve champion in this beginner class. Juniors, be making your way to the ring so you can get checked in. Class 2, the juniors, please be making your way to the ring to get checked in.
Well, a really good class to start off the goat show here in showmanship, and look forward to working with your youth here today, and then the sheep showman there tomorrow. Really a tough class here, and I think two young ladies there at the front end that do a really good job. A young lady is going to end up here third, who, maybe a different style just with the weather side of things, and we'll talk about them just a little bit. A young lady is going to start the class. For me, I guess just her natural posture up front, how she gets that doe's head to come there and neck to come out of the top side of her shoulder. I think she is the best in this class just in terms of making sure foot placement is correct. One thing with her, I told her maybe focus a little bit on getting that doe to brace when you come in to handle there. Young lady that's going to be in second, probably as good as any just in terms of her movement around the doe, knowing where I am at all times. A couple things there I told her, maybe pull back on that collar just a little bit, get that head and neck to be a little bit more erect, maybe keep focusing on getting those back feet set up just a little more square. Really like her natural posture, really like her ring awareness out there, certainly has a bright future. Young lady is going to be here in third. Again, probably as good as anybody in terms of getting that weather to brace, getting him to push and getting him to drive. For me, just her posture up front, told her to maybe stand more at the front of that weather versus to the side just to get a harder brace and more consistent brace the whole time. Three excellent showmen. Look forward to the day that's coming.
Congratulations to Riley Seabrand. She is our champion beginner goat showman. Reserve champion beginner goat showman goes to Libby Rexroth. And third place beginner goat showman goes to Georgia Schlosser. Entering the ring now is our Class 2, Heat 1 of our junior showmanship. In the ring, we'll have Laramie Sexton, Lizzie Lambert, Bobby Bernwald, and Millie Paulton. Once again, this is our first class of junior showmen. Second class, you should be checked in.
A really nice heat here to kick off our junior showmanship, and we have two heats here. I'm going to need to select a top 5 overall, and so I'm going to elect to keep 3 out of here. The young lady up front, young lady there with the red-legged doe, and then the young lady there with the weather. Going to ask those 3 to come back. I guess for me, some different things is just their natural poise, their posture, consistency of getting those goats set up. You know, showmanship, it's kind of a deal where you got to make sure your goat's working with you. And young lady here, you know, I think does a good job in terms of her consistency, working with that doe. Maybe she just doesn't want to cooperate, stand still for you today. Keep working on that. Look forward to having you back out here for the doe show. Congratulations to these exhibitors. Look forward to having these 3 back out here for the drive.
That was Class 2, Heat 1 of our junior showmanship. Coming back for the overall junior showman will be Laramie Sexton, Lizzie Lambert, and Bobby Bernwald. Entering the ring now is Class 3 of the junior showmanship. We'll have Tegan Durner, Leah Lambert, Sage Durner, and Della Scott. This is our second heat of junior goat showmanship.
Another really good heat out here as we round out your juniors. For me, the 2 young ladies there up front do an awfully good job. I'm going to ask those 2 to come back here for the champion junior drive. Young man out here works really, really hard. I think a really good job in terms of foot placement. Let's just try and kind of push into him a little bit more to get that neck back. Maybe just get that weather just to brace just a touch more. A young lady here with the red doe. Again, really good job in terms of foot placement. Every now and then those back feet kind of want to get off just a little bit. Just keep a watch on that. My other thing is maybe just kind of shorten up in terms of that chain up front, just to have a little bit more control there on the stand. Awfully good job. Congratulations to all 4 of these exhibitors. Look forward to having these 2 back out here.
Congratulations in Heat 2 goes to Leah Lambert and Tegan Durner. They'll be returning for our champion, reserve champion, junior showmanship. Entering the ring now from Class 2, our first heat of junior showman, we'll have Laramie Sexton, Lizzie Lambert, and Bobby Bernwald. From Class 3, Heat 2 of the junior showmanship, we will have Leah Lambert and Tegan Derner. Once again, this is our champion junior and reserve champion junior goat showmanship in the ring now. First class of seniors, you should be checked in. First class of seniors, you should be checked in.
A really, really good drive out here, and it gets close for me here in these top three, and just tell you a few of these differences. A young lady that's going to start out here, for me, just a little bit of natural poise when she came in there in her heat. I really like just her posture, how she gets that weather to drive and squat. He relaxes there in his spine. For me, compared to the young lady that's showing like a weather there in third, I think she's more consistent in terms of her front feet placement. She keeps those that weather's feet square, more correct there. I like how his neck comes out of the top side of his shoulder. Young lady is going to be here in second. In terms of foot placement there on that doe and consistency, I think she's as good as anybody out here. Really square, really correct. Like how she gets the doe's neck to come there out of the top side of her shoulder, ever so slightly every now and then. Those back feet want to be off just a little bit. Okay, just make sure those are set consistently the whole time. Young lady that's going to be there in third, really when she came in there for their heat, I thought she was in here to win. And again, really, really good job. I probably prefer her posture better than the young lady that's going to be there in second. I like how she gets this weather to brace and drive. Those front feet want to get off ever so slightly. Just kind of pop them just a little bit, get those front feet back in them. I think you move up in this class and really have a shot to win. A young lady that's going to be here in fourth. Again, natural posture, natural poise. When she gets that doe set up there initially, I think she does as good of a job as any. The longer she's sitting there embracing, the doe wants to kind of suck her neck down in her just a little bit. Sometimes those feet want to get off just a little bit and she wants to dance around. Just be more consistent in terms of getting that neck out of her shoulder, getting those feet placed the way you want them. Young lady is going to end up fifth overall here in the juniors. When she's on, I think she's on and as good as anybody. For me, I just want you to relax just a little bit, okay? In terms of switching sides, when I'm going from side to side, just calm down, just move a little bit smoother, a little bit slower. I think you move up in here. Really good job getting that weather to brace and push. I like your posture. I like how you get them to drive. Just kind of calm down just a little bit, move just a little bit smoother. Congratulations to all 5 of those exhibitors. That's a really, really good heat of juniors.
Congratulations, champion junior goat showman Tegan Derner. Reserve champion junior goes to Lizzie Lambert. Third place, Leah Lambert. Fourth, Laramie Sexton. And fifth, Bobby Burnwald. Congratulations, exhibitors. We'll be moving into our senior goat showmanship. In our first heat, we have Rebecca Gardner, Caden Healy Mitchell, Ellen Hartman, Kean McNerney, Molly Oakley, and Anthony Quick. Once again, this is our first heat of senior showmanship. Heats 2 and 3, please be checked in. Exhibitors, make sure you thank our judge, Bobby Strecker. He's coming from Holyoke, Colorado, where he currently works as the regional sales manager for ABS Global, managing Nebraska, Wyoming, and Colorado. Alongside his wife and 2 kids, they own and operate S&S Livestock, where they raise and sell competitive show wethers and does across the Midwest and West. Bobby grew up on a diversified livestock operation in Lexington, Virginia, where his family actively raised and sold show cattle. He attended Hutchinson Community College in Kansas and Colorado State University, where he was a member of the livestock judging teams and received a degree in animal sciences. Thank you, Bobby, for making your trip to the Black Hills Stock Show.
A really good heat to kick off the seniors, and maybe some variation in here, and somebody can do a few different things. I guess when it comes down to it, we have 3 heats of those. I'm going to ask the 2 young ladies with the black shirt, young lady with the purple colored up shirt to come back here for our champion drive. I think just consistency in terms of foot placement. I think their goats are cooperating probably the best with them the time that they're out here. Congratulations, all these exhibitors. Look forward to having those 3 back out here.
Congratulations goes to Caden Healy Mitchell, Ellen Hartman, and Molly Oakley. They will be returning for a championship drive for the senior goat showmanship. Entering the ring now is Class 5 Heat 2 senior showmanship. We'll have Charlotte Wilson, Afton McIntosh, Athena Schweihart, Callie Bernwald, Dylan Pittman, Josette McConnell, and Ava Roundy. Once again, this is Class 5 Heat 2 senior goat showmanship. Class 6, you should be checked in.
Another really good heat, and maybe turned it up a notch here on the top end of this one. I'm going to end up bringing 4 back out of this heat. 2 young ladies there up front, a young lady with the weather right in front of me, a young lady in the pink here in the back. again, for me, it just comes down to some consistency, making it through the cut here, making sure those feet are square, making sure those does or wethers are cooperating with you on the lead. You know, I probably don't have a personal preference, I guess, whether you use a chain or whether you use a halter. Whatever that goat's going to walk the best on, I think is probably what's best. And so just making sure they work with you the whole time around the ring. You know, young lady there at the end, just getting a little more drive there out of that weather, I think you work up in this class quite a bit. So look forward to having those four back out here for your champion senior drive. If you would, please put your hands together for all these exhibitors.
Congratulations goes to Class 5 Heat 2 of Senior Showmanship. Coming back for the grand drive will be Charlotte Wilson, Afton McIntosh, Callie Burnwald, and Josette McConnell. Entering the ring now is our last class as Senior Showman. We'll have Abigail Robertus, Corbin Steyerver, Corbin Seabrandt, Casey Quang, Xander Oliver, and Xander Brixley. Once again, this is our last class of Senior Showmanship, and then we'll have the grand champion Senior Goat Showman.
And last heat here of Senior Showmanship, and I'm going to elect to have the young man there in the pink shirt, young man there in the gray shirt, and then the young lady in the red to come back out. You know, young lady up front, I think when you get that dose stopped and put together, probably as good of a job as any. Maybe just doesn't want to cooperate fully with you today, but excellent showman. I think you certainly have a bright future ahead of you. If you would, please give all these exhibitors a round of applause. Look forward to this champion Senior Showman drive.
Coming back on a Class 6 Heat 3 of the Senior Showman, we'll have Corbin Steyer, Corbin Seabrandt, and Casey Quang. As our seniors enter the ring from Class 4, we'll have Caden Healy-Mitchell, Ellen Hartman, and Molly Oakley. From Class 5, Charlotte Wilson, Afton McIntosh, Callie Burnwald, Josette McConnell. From Class 6, we will have Corbin Stiver, Corbin Seabrant, and Casey Quang. Once again, this is our champion and reserve champion, senior goat showman, in the ring now. We will place the top 5. After our senior heat of showmanship is completed, we'll take beginners and junior showmanship, and we'll do photos here just with the kids and their prizes. You will not need your goat.
A really good drive here, senior showmanship, and really, I guess for me, these three young ladies out front, I guess were probably my final three from the time they came in there in their heat. I thought just the poise, the consistency they had out there. I thought they were the best in terms of foot placement. I thought they were the best in terms of their natural presentation and their poise. And really, it's little details, I guess, that sorts them. A young lady with the paint dough that's going to win, I think does a really good job just in terms of her pace on the move. I like her foot placement. For me, my preference over her with the young lady in the dough in second, I think she's better in terms of keeping that nose down and that nose level there on that dough. Young lady that's going to be in second probably is the best in terms of getting that dough set up quickly, getting a good brace out of her. You know, sometimes she wants to get in there to brace and the nose gets up. Try and knock that down just a little bit. I think you move up in this class. Young lady with the weather, I really, really like when she gets that thing stuck, just in terms of her presence. That weather really wants to squat, relax in his spine, and drive. Kind of when we were in there in that heat there originally, maybe one of those back legs got off just a little bit. Okay, it happens ever so slightly. Just kind of keep more attention there on those feet and legs, making sure they're set. Young lady is going to be ending up here in fourth. You know, very similar story. Very good in terms of her poise, her natural presence. Those front feet, she just needs to kind of pop that weather just a little bit, get those front feet to come down square. He wants to lean forward just a little bit more, just get those front feet out of them just a little bit. Young lady is going to be here in fifth. A really good job. You know, I don't know if your weather's maybe slightly injured, but just how he drives there off of his hip and his hind leg, just need to get that one more stabilized just so he kind of pushes just a little bit better, maybe doesn't squat quite as much. Awfully good job getting those feet set. As we go down the line, again, I think five excellent showmen over here on my left. You know, just nitpicky little things. Young lady, maybe that weather or that doe, just her feet, she wants to dance around just a little bit. As we get on down the line, getting maybe a little bit more of a brace out of them, maybe making sure those feet are set more consistently. Congratulations to all those exhibitors. That's a really good final drive.
Congratulations to our champion senior goat showman, Casey Wang. Congratulations to our reserve champion goat senior showman, Charlotte Wilson. Third place coming to us from Class 5, Callie Burnwald. Fourth place, Ellen Hartman. And fifth place, Caden Healy Mitchell. Once again, we're going to take a 5-minute photo break. Beginners, juniors, seniors, please come to the ring with your prizes, not your goats, and we'll do a quick photos here. And a big thank you to our 2026 Black Hills Stock Show Youth Sheep and Goat Show sponsors: High Hog Farm and Ranch Equipment, Fleet Farm, South Dakota Farmers Union, Outback Steakhouse, Farm Credit Services of America, First Interstate Bank, and Cattle Business Weekly. Once again, stop by, exhibitors, parents, stop by their booths, say thank you for sponsoring our youth show, as we want to continue this to keep growing. And a huge thank you to our judge, Bobby, coming up here from Colorado. Exhibitors and parents, after the photos are done, we'll move into our Market Goat show. So if you're in classes 1 and 2, please be getting ready if you're not taking photos. Exhibitors and parents, as a reminder, you can follow along in the Showman app as to where we are in today's schedule, and you can use that tomorrow for the sheep show as well. Entering the ring now is our first class of market goats, ranging in weights from 56 pounds to 69 pounds. We'll have a dual entry of Xander Brixley.
A nice class to kick the market show off, and I'm going to leave them the way they came in. The young man's dough kid I'm going to use to win. One for me when you get your hands on them, maybe just a touch more expressive in terms of her rack shape. I think she's a little bit wider, a little bit squarer there in her loin edge. Maybe one that I'd like to just stouten up in terms of her bone work, but still one that gives you a nice look from the side. To me, she handles just a notch more shape when you get your hands on her. Young man's weather is going to be here in second. One that is tall shouldered, one that's level spined. I like him in terms of the set he has there out of his hip. I think one that does offer just a notch more substance in terms of foot and bone. Maybe for me, though, wants to just pinch right there in his forearm, wants to narrow up there over his rack. One that just needs a few more days there on feed, I think, to meet his full potential. Congratulations to both these exhibitors. Nice way to kick off the day.
Congratulations to Class 1 goes to Xander Brixley with his dual entry in the first class of market goats. Entering the ring now is our Class 2 market goats, ranging in weights from 80 to 89 pounds. We have Bobby Burnwald, Caden Healy Mitchell, Tegan Derner, Georgia Schlosser, Ellen Hartman, and Callie Burnwald. Once again, this is Class 2 market goats, ranging in weights from 80 to 89 pounds. Class 3, you need to be checking in. exhibitors and parents. We'll be doing the market show and breeding show pictures after everybody has completed, and that will be over in Rushmore Hall. So we'll gather everybody up together and we'll do one big wave of coats outside the doors, around the building, and back into the backdrop.
A really good class, and really some differences, especially as you get through these top three or four young ladies. Whether I'm going to start with, for me, love this one's look, love this one's balance when she gets him propped up from the side. I think feet and legs are really good. I think he's square there through his chest floor. You get your hands on him. Maybe not as chubby as a couple of them that we have in the class. I think really correct in terms of his shape there over his rack, really wide there in terms of his loin edge. I would like to freshen that up just a little bit, maybe make him just a notch bolder and a notch chubbier there in his forerib, but paints a really, really good silhouette. I like him in terms of his chest floor and his lower body balance as well. Very interesting weather that's going to be here in second. When I get my hands on him, probably as fresh in terms of his rack shape as anything out here. One I think is relatively good in terms of his loin edge. I would like to just square him up ever so slightly. For me, you study this one from the side and maybe just a notch more general in terms of his build. Okay, maybe once on the move, just wants to drop in his chest and his shoulder just a little bit, maybe raise up there in his loin. I think the young lady does a really good job getting him put together. Just like to see a little bit more wow factor there from the side. Young lady is going to be there in third. Very different kind and maybe a notch more similar to our class when you study him from the profile. For me, there's just not enough there. He needs to be just fresher. He needs to be further along from a condition standpoint just to get a little bit more pop there in his rack, a little bit better there in his loin. Similar to the young lady that was there in second, I think one that's really, really good in terms of his rack shape. I love him in terms of his body shape. From the middle of, or from his last rib back is for me where he kind of plays out just a little bit. I'd like to just open him up in terms of his pin width. I'd like to see him just wider, square there in his loin edge. Maybe one that's a little bit gives up some weight to those that are ahead of him. I think one that certainly has a bright future ahead of him. Just like to see him a notch wider there in his pin set. Probably the most expressive, hardest handling goat's the one that's going to come next. Really aggressive in terms of his shape over his rack and his loin. He just gets a little tighter there in his flank, wants to run downhill ever so slightly. Just like to see him drop there in his flank, maybe just a notch more condition. Probably the biggest back goat's the one that's going to round out the class. Massive in terms of his rack shape. One for me, maybe just a little bit more stale to the touch, a little softer to the touch. Just like to freshen him up, lean him up just a little bit. I think he moves up in this class pretty quickly. Congratulations, those exhibitors. A nice pair there on the top end.
Class 2 market goat winner goes to Callie Burnwald, weighing in at 89 pounds. Second place, Caden Healy Mitchell. Third, Bobby Burnwald. Fourth, Tegan Derner. Fifth, Georgia Schlosser. Sixth, Ellen Hartman. Entering the ring now is Class 3 market goats, ranging in weights from 95 pounds to 98 pounds. Once again, this is Class 3, ranging in weights from 95 to 98. We have Caden Healy Mitchell, Afton McIntosh, Sage Derner, Xander Brixley, Dylan Pittman, and Callie Burnwald. Class 3 market goats in the ring. Class 4, you need to be headed to the ring. Class 4 to the ring to be checked in.
A really good class, and really, I think for me the most challenging part is the young lady there in second and kind of what to do with her. Young lady up front, for me, this one's presence, this one's how he's put together there from the side is what I prefer. Tall shouldered, shallow chested, good in terms of his lower body balance. You get your hands on him. He's probably as big as anything in terms of his rack shape. He's probably spans as wide as anything in his loin. Is he as fresh in terms of his rack shape as the young lady's weather in second? Probably not. For me, though, he's just so much better in terms of how he handles his hip, how he is there in his tail set, how he handles his hind leg. A really nice place to start. Young lady there in second. From his hip forward, I think this is the best one. Right, I think he is massive in terms of his loin. I think he is the freshest in terms of his hide quality, his hair quality, and his touch. For me, though, just how he handles his hip and his hind leg, I guess for me, that's where I'm going to have to draw the line here. Just like to see him leveler and longer there in his hip structure. Just see him plant, get out and go with more authority off of those rear two. From his hip forward, really, really like him. From there back, I think he needs to be modified. Young lady is going to be there in third. Really expressive, really shapely kind of a weather. For me, at this weight, he's still just a little raw. Okay, needs some more weight, needs some more fat there. Wants to get a little bit flat, hard there in terms of his forerib shape. Wants to wash out in his loin. Very aggressive in terms of his shape. Just needs to be further along for the weight we're standing at. Young man that's going to come here in fourth. Really, really big backed, really round ribbed. Maybe just doesn't put all those parts and pieces together as well. A little bit staler in terms of his top side shape. Just like to freshen him up. See him just a notch more dynamic in terms of his look there from the side. As we get on down the line with these other two, just two weathers that maybe have some look. Maybe they're longer sided, taller shouldered kind of goats. Just need a little bit more muscle, needs a little more skeletal width to move up in this class. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
That was Class 3 Market Goats leaving the ring now. Congratulations to first place, Callie Burnwald. Second place, Caden Healy Mitchell. Third, Afton McIntosh. Fourth, Dylan Pittman. Fifth, Sage Durner. And sixth, Xander Brixley. Entering the ring now will be Class 4 of our Market Goats, ranging in weights from 107 to 112. Once again, this is Class 4 Market Goats, ranging in weights from 107 to 112. We'll have Ava Roundy, Casey Quang, Keenan McNerney, Afton McIntosh, Xander Oliver, and Lizzie Lambert. Class 5 and 6 Market Goats, you need to be checked in. Class 5 and 6 Market Goats, you need to be checked in, and then we will move into our championship drive for the Market Goats. Exhibitors and parents, make sure you stop by the Texacoda panels and tell Darren thank you for helping and his support in providing us with extra pens and panels to keep the goats and sheep this weekend. Stop by the Tri-State Livestock News booth, Western Legacy Foundation, and WW Livestock Equipment, and tell them thank you for their continued support of the Youth Sheep and Goat Show this weekend.
Oh, kind of like the classes we've had so far. Lots and lots of differences. Probably two goats that just don't go together. Young lady, I'm going to start with, for me, maybe some areas you'd like to fix. For me, puts the most good together. I think one that is still one of the two still fresh handling goats in this class. I think one that's still good in terms of his shape when you get your hands on him. One that once you get him put together, I think compared to the one in second, is better there at the top of his shoulder. I think he's stronger in terms of how he hooks up on the backside of his shoulder. If I'd like to fix him, he needs to be pulled apart. I'd like to see just more lower leg shape. Like to see him set him down wider there from behind. Young lady in second, I think you can get a few different looks of this weather. Get your hands on him. This is the best one in terms of his forerib shape. He is the freshest. He's the biggest there in his rack shape. One for me from the side. Maybe gets just a little bit deep in terms of his body. He wants to really break right behind his shoulder. Really just doesn't want to cooperate with you out here. One, though, I think is really fresh. I think one that's really good in terms of his body shape. Like to fix him in his hip loin junction. Maybe just have him tie together just a notch better. Young lady that's going to be here in third. Phenomenal job getting this one put together there from the side. Really big, really hard, really expressive in terms of his rack. With that, maybe just a little bit harder, a little bit staler in terms of his handle. He wants to wash out there in his loin, just like to freshen him up just a little bit, both on his handle, skin, and hair quality as well. The widest, heaviest muscled goat's going to be here in fourth. One that is chock full of muscle from end to end, just a little bit rounder in terms of how he's put together. Wants to be a notch coarser in his shoulder, steeper out of his hip. Just like to see him balance better when you study him there from the side. Young lady is going to come next, and the young man that's going to round out the class. Two similar in terms of kinds. Just need to see a notch more shape, need to see a notch more dimension for them to move up. Congratulations to all these exhibitors. Nice class.
Congratulations to our Class 4 Market Goat winner, Lizzie Lambert. Second place going to Casey Quang. Third, Afton McIntosh. Fourth, Ava Roundy. Fifth, Kean McNearney. And sixth, Xander Oliver. Entering the ring now is our Class 5 Market Goats, ranging in weights from 115 to 119. Once again, this is Class 5 Market Goats, ranging in weights from 115 to 119. In the ring, we have Corbin Stiver, Ellen Hartman, and Bobby Bernwald. Class 6 will be after this, and then we'll move into our championship drive for our Market Goats. If you are a class winner, we need you checked in. Classes 1, 2, 3, and 4. We need you checked in if you're a class winner. Second places, I need you checked in as well to be on deck.
Really nice weather. We're going to start the class off with, probably the biggest and the freshest handling goat we've had here all day. Really massive in terms of his rack shape. Love him in terms of his center body cavity. You get your hands on him there out of his loin. He's massive in his loin. At this weight, still handles it relatively well from a freshness standpoint. Would I like to just pretty him up and balance him up a notch better? I think he's a notch more open in his shoulder. Maybe needs to be a notch better in terms of his strength right behind his shoulder. But still, he's proportionate in terms of how he's put together. Massive in his back shape. Really good in terms of his body shape. Young lady that's going to be in second, similar to some kinds we've used here in classes all day. Tall-shouldered, really good in terms of his look from the side, has adequate in terms of his touch, maybe compared to the one that's above him. Not as big, not as burly in terms of his rack shape. I'd like to just freshen him up there, but still awfully good silhouette. Really like this one when he's set in motion as well. Young lady is going to round out the class. From his hip forward, I like him when you get your hands on him. He's wide, he's square in terms of his back shape. He's good in terms of his body shape as well. From there back, compared to the ones ahead of him, maybe just runs out of gas. Wants to get a notch rounder and staler there in his loin edge. Wants to narrow there in his pin set. Just like to see notch more leg shape when you get him behind him. Still a really nice weather for the young lady. She does a really good job getting him stuck. Congratulations to those three exhibitors.
Congratulations to Class 5 Market Goat winner Corbin Stiver, second place Bobby Bernwald, and third Ellen Hartman. Entering the ring now is single entry in Class 6, Caden Healy Mitchell, weighing in at 134. Once again, if you're a first and second place winner of a class, I need you to come check in. First places will enter in the ring, second will stay on deck.
A single entry that could certainly use some more competition, and you start to get to 130 pounds, and this one's pretty impressive in terms of how she's kept him together. I still think relatively fresh compared to his weight. One that certainly has some dimension. You like him when you get your hands on him. Maybe one when you set him into motion. He's a notch deeper in terms of his center body. Like to clean him up there. Maybe I'd like to stouten him up just a notch in terms of his bone in his forearm just to match the rest of his mass. Does a really good job getting him stuck. I think an awfully nice weather here in this single entry.
Congratulations to your Class 6 Market Goat winner, Caden Healy Mitchell. Entering the ring now will be our champion, our overall champion Market Goat drive. We'll have from Class 1, Xander Brixley, from weighing in at 56 pounds. From Class 2, we'll have Callie Bernwald, weighing in at 89 pounds. From Class 3, Callie Bernwald, weighing in at 98 pounds. From Class 4, Lizzie Lambert, weighing in at 112. From Class 5, we'll have Corbin Stiver, weighing in at 115. And from Class 6, Caden Healy Mitchell, weighing in at 134. Once again, this is your champion Market Goat drive. In the ring now, being judged by Bobby Strecker, coming to us from Colorado, where he currently works as the regional sales manager for ABS Global, managing Nebraska, Wyoming, and Colorado. Alongside his wife and two kids, they own and operate S&S Livestock, where they raise and sell competitive show wethers and does across the Midwest and West. Bobby grew up on a diversified livestock operation in Lexington, Virginia, where his family actively raised and sold show cattle. He attended Hutchinson Community College in Kansas and Colorado State University, where he was a member of the livestock judging teams and received a degree in animal sciences. Once again, thank you, Bobby, coming to us from Colorado up here at our 2026 Black Hills Stock Show Youth Sheep and Goat Show weekend. Thank you once again. And exhibitors, parents, make sure you thank Bobby for his time coming up here as well, along with your sponsors like Fleet Farm and South Dakota Farmers Union. As a reminder, once again, after the Market Goat Show, we will move right into our Weather Doe Show, and photos will all be taken after the weather show.
Well, a really nice weather show, and look forward to the does here later. Maybe in each class as we got through the day, there weren't just types and kinds that were very similar to really tie to and run to, but really like the 6 that we have out here and the seconds that were behind them. I guess for me, when it comes to your champion and really your top 3, there's 3 of them out here that I think do a lot of good, maybe different in terms of their type and kind. The young ladies, whether they're out of class 2, it was really a pair of wethers there at the top end I thought were awfully nice and very different. I love this one's look. I love this one's natural head carriage, how he handles his spine there out of his tail set, just his feet and legs in general. One that still you get your hands on him. He's big. He's correct in terms of his shape. Maybe not as burly as a couple we have here on the other end of the line, but I think that one that is appropriate in terms of his condition. I think he's one that's still fresh in terms of his handle, and I really, really like the look that he gives you from the side. We're going to jump a few classes down here to the young man in the pink shirt, and maybe that's where we really amped up just in terms of overall muscle mass and just weight. Young man's weather is one that is without question the biggest in terms of his back shape. He probably is still one of the freshest in terms of his handle as well. I love this one when you get your hands on him in terms of his center body shape, his rack, the dimension over his loin. This is one that is so wide and dimensional there out of his hip. And then still at the same time, he's proportional in terms of how he's put together. Maybe one I'd like to neaten up in terms of his shoulder. Maybe one I'd like to just strengthen in his top as he gets a little bit lazy out here. But I think one that puts a lot of really good things together. Young lady there of the last class, I still think it's very impressive. One that's at 130 pounds to still handle the way that he does. I commend the young lady for the time and effort she's put into him. Really correct and really firm and hard in terms of his touch there over his rack. I like the width that he progressively gets wider there out of his hip. I think one out here that's good in his feet and legs. He's good in his body shape. He's good in his touch. Like I said there in class, maybe a notch deeper in terms of his center body. One maybe I'd like to just stouten up in terms of his forearm and his bone work just to match the overall mass. But really good when you get your hands on him. I commend the young lady for the job that she's done getting him to this point. Once again, if you would, please put your hands together for all these kids. I'm going to get you a champion. We'll bring those seconds back in, and I'll get you a top 5 overall.
Congratulations goes to Class 5 winner is now your overall champion market goat from Class 5, Corbin Stiver, weighing in at 115. Your overall reserve champion market goat comes to us from Class 2, weighing in at 89 pounds, Callie Burnwald. Third place overall market goat comes to us from Class 2, our second place entry, Caden Healy Mitchell, weighing in at 82 pounds. Fourth place overall market goat goes to Class 5 second placer, Bobby Burnwald, weighing in at 119. And your fifth overall market goat comes to us from Class 6, Caden Healy Mitchell, weighing in at 134. Congratulations to our top 5 market goat show, champion and reserve champion, second, or third, fourth, and fifth placers. Congratulations. Folks, if you're watching, give them a round of applause. They're working with these animals for quite a long time, making sure they're ready to come to the Black Hill Stock Show. We'll be moving into our weather doe show here in just a few minutes with Class 1, a single entry, and then we'll move through 6 classes into our overall. Once again, exhibitors, parents, folks watching, make sure you stop by the booth and say thank you for all the sponsors for the Youth and Sheep and Goat shows this weekend, like First Interstate Bank, Cattle Business Weekly, Farm Credit Services of America, Texacoda Panels, Tri-State Livestock News, the Western Legacy Foundation, and WW Livestock Equipment. They're the provider of the show ring panels, and they're a longtime supporter of the youth. So we appreciate their business. We want to tell them thank you as often as we can. Starting our weather doe show, we have a single entry in Class 1, Athena Shriart, weighing in at 45 pounds. Class 2, we need you checked in. Class 1 is in the ring now, starting our Weather Doe show.
A really nice lightweight doe to kick off the show, and maybe only 45 pounds, but I think the quality and pieces are there for her to mature really well. Really feminine, really refined there in terms of her neck shape. I like how she balances from there back in proportions. You know, one that just needs some time, needs some more feed, and I think you're going to be really happy with the end result. Congratulations, young lady.
Class 1 winner, Athena Schwehart, weighing in at 45 pounds. Entering the ring now as our Class 2 Weather Does. We'll have Callie Burnwald, Afton McIntosh, Riley Seabrandt, Molly Oakley, and Xander Brixley, ranging in weights from 80 to 89 pounds. Once again, this is our Class 2 Weather Does. In the ring now, Class 3, we need you checked in.
Really an awfully high quality pair of does here at the top end of this class, and probably depending on what your priorities are, I think you can flip them. For me, the young lady's doe that's going to win, One I think is just so much more correct there up front. I like how she's laid in neater there at her shoulder. I like how her neck there comes out of the top side of her shoulder. Just how she transitions back. She's probably just a notch longer in terms of her hip structure. I think she's a notch better in terms of her reach and her motion there out of her hock. Maybe she's not as wide and opened up in terms of her forerib and her center body as the doe in second, but I think she has more than plenty enough muscle, like to maybe just modify her in terms of her mouth as well. Young lady that's going to be there in second. This one is very, very impressive. No matter what side of her skeleton you study her on, you get your hands on her. She is massive in terms of her rack and her loin and her pin width. For me, though, I just want to redesign her up front. I'd like to lay her in neater there at her shoulder, just see her get out and go with more ease there out of her shoulder and her front knee, but one that is chock full of muscle, one the young lady gets put together very, very well from the side. Just want to modify her structurally up front. Really just a very practical, functional kind of doe that's going to be here in third. I think one that's very good in terms of her feet and legs. She's good in terms of her balance. Maybe just doesn't give you the wow factor like the two that are above her. I think this is going to be an awfully nice breeding piece for the young lady on down the road. Black Cape doe that's going to come next. Really long-sided, really hard handling, like the wether she's brought to us today. Maybe for me, just want to soften her up, see her just a notch more opened up in terms of her skeleton. Similar story for the young man that's going to round out the class. Tall-shouldered, good and functional in terms of her skeleton. Just need a shot more mass, need a shot more width for him to move up. Congratulations to those exhibitors. That's a really nice pair there on the top end.
That is Class 2 leaving the ring now. Congratulations going to first place, Riley Seabrand, weighing in at 84 pounds. Second, Callie Burnwald. Third, Molly Oakley. Fourth, Afton McIntosh. And fifth, Xander Brixley. Entering the ring now is Class 3 Weather Does, ranging in weights from 92 pounds to 97 pounds. We have Rebecca Gardner and Samuel Vasic.
A nice pair of does in this class. And the young lady there in the pink sweater I'm going to start with, for me, maybe just a notch fancier, just blends a notch better when you study her from the profile. I like her up front. I think she's better there. And now her neck transitions to her shoulder. And then from there back in terms of her forerib, maybe I'd like to modify her in her hip and her hind leg structure, just lengthen her out, level her out there out of her hip, raise her up in the set there to her tail, but still from her hip forward, an awfully nice female in this class. Probably the heavier muscled, the more dimensional doe is the one that's going to be here in second. I think this is going to be a very nice project for the young man to get into his program. This one's big in terms of her rack shape. She's dimensional there out of her hip. Maybe just doesn't blend together. Maybe not as fancy in terms of her look when you study her from the side, but one that certainly has plenty of muscle, plenty of dimension. I think going to be an awfully nice breeding project for the young man down the road. Congratulations to those two exhibitors.
Congratulations to your Class 3 winner, Rebecca Gardner, weighing in at 92 pounds. Second place to Samuel Vasic. Entering the ring now is our Class 4 of Weather Does, ranging in weights from 101 to 109. We'll have Casey Quang, Afton McIntosh, Bobby Burnwald, Charlotte Wilson, Callie Burnwald, Corbin Seabrand, and Millie Paulton. Once again, this is Class 4 Weather Does entering the ring now. Class 5, you need to be checked in.
without question, the deepest class that we've had all day, and that includes the weathers there earlier. And I absolutely love these top four that are out here. Um, this top pair's close. I think you can. There's some give and take between them, and I'll just tell you kind of my difference. I think two awfully sound, good-looking, correct-built does. For me, the young lady that's going to win the class, it's really that front view, that front three-quarter, just how she blends from her shoulder back. I think she's rounder. I think she's bolder in terms of her center body and her forerib. She is massive in terms of her touch and her loin. Still very correct in terms of her spine. They're out of her hip and her hind leg. I think an awfully nice doe. This paint that's in second, if we just set them in motion the whole time, I think she wins. This one is so loose and flexible in terms of her lower joints. She's so good in terms of her relaxation there of her spine. You know, you get your hands on her, she has enough in terms of her muscle. Phenomenal fit job, phenomenal presentation. I'd like to just square her up in her knee ever so slightly, just see her a notch bolder there. Phenomenal breeding piece, phenomenal breeding doe. Awfully good job. Young lady that's going to be in third. Again, not to take anything away from you, I think one that is very good in terms of her design. I like her substance. I like her foot, her bone, just her rugged kind of appearance there. Maybe one that just doesn't blend as well as the one above her, or one's above her. She's a notch longer sided, maybe just not as maternal in terms of her center body. I think this is going to be a really nice breeding piece for you on down the road. Young man that's going to come here in fourth is functional, is practical, is good in terms of her kind as anything we've had. Very good in terms of her feet and legs. I think she's refined. I think she's feminine in terms of her kind. She's got enough muscle to her. Maybe just doesn't have the wow factor like the three that are above her. Young lady is going to round out her top five here. Kind of a similar story. Very good in terms of just the fundamentals and the basics that she covers. She's good in terms of her feet and legs. She's good in terms of her body shape. Maybe just wants to get a notch more jammed up when you study her from the side. Just doesn't give you that elegant look up front like a few that are ahead of her. Young lady is going to come here again in fifth, one that you really like, or sixth, sorry, one you like in terms of her substance, you like in terms of her back shape, just with her added bone, her added substance she has. Like to see her a notch bolder in terms of her center body, just open her up. Young lady that's going to round out the class, again, really a functional, practical kind of a breeding doe for the young lady to show. Just needs a little more shape, needs a little more wow factor to compete with the ones above her. Congratulations to all these exhibitors. Awfully deep class, really good pair on the top end.
Congratulations to Class 4 winner Charlotte Wilson, weighing in at 105. Second place, Kaylee Quang. Third, Bobby Burnwald. Fourth, Corbin Seabrand. Fifth, Callie Burnwald. Sixth, Afton McIntosh. And seventh, Millie Polton. In the ring now is our Class 5 weather does, ranging in weights from 112 to 119. Once again, this is Class 5 weather does, ranging in weights from 112 to 119. In the ring, we have Anthony Quick, Josette McConnell, Lizzie Lambert, and Dylan Pittman. Class 5 in the ring. Class 6, you need to be checked in. And first place winners of the previous classes, please start getting ready for the overall championship drive.
really a nice class. And for me, one maybe breaks down a little simpler there than the one we had in the last. Young Man's Doe, I'm going to start with, for me, just probably puts the most together. One up front, I think she's elegant. I think she's correct there. She's good in terms of her back shape. Compared to a couple others in here, I think she's just a notch fresher from a condition standpoint. One that offers a little more length compared to the Doe in second. She's just longer, more correct there in her hip and her hind leg structure. Young lady there in second, she's wide, she's square, she's still very good in terms of her feet and legs, one that still blends together relatively well. Maybe for me, wants to get just a notch heavier there in her chest, a notch shorter that of her hip. Just want to see her just lengthen out just ever so slightly, maybe freshen up just a notch from a condition standpoint. A very maternal, very functional kind of a doe that's going to come here in third. I like her in terms of her head and her neck set. I like her on her feet and legs. Her body type is one that I prefer. Maybe for me, you get your hands on her. Maybe it's her hair coat just a notch plainer, more nondescript in terms of her touch. Just like to widen her out there between her hocks as she goes away from you. Really an elegant, tall-shouldered, attractive maid doe that's going to come here in fourth. For me, as we're getting to this weight, I just start to question if there's enough there. One that wants to kind of narrow up through her chest and from behind, just like to open her up in her overall skeleton. Still a really nice class of does there. If you would, please put your hands together for them.
That was your Class 5 leaving the ring. First place goes to Dylan Pittman, weighing in at 119. Second, Josette McConnell. Third, Lizzie Lambert. Fourth, Anthony Quick. Entering the ring now is Class 6, our last class before our champion drive. Class 6 weather does ranging in weights from 123 to 131. We have Dylan Pittman, Molly Oakley, Della Scott, and Charlotte Wilson. First place and second place winners from the previous 5 classes, please be getting checked in. First place and second placers from the previous classes, please be getting checked in.
Really a nice class to round out the doe show here, and young ladies doe that wins for me does so rather handily. Just puts the most good together in terms of shape and freshness, look and balance from the side. Look forward to having her back out here. For me, it gets closer here between second and third, and two different kinds of does. For me, the young man's maybe one that offers a little more extension, a little bit cleaner and just fresher from a condition standpoint. And then when you start them to study them down at the ground and in their skeleton, I think just a notch more genuine in terms of her width from end to end. I think she's a notch more genuine in terms of how she plants and just her lower balance and structure. Young lady that's going to be here in third. That is a brood doe when you study her from the side. Love her in terms of her center body. Love her in terms of how she proportions. One, you get your hands on and you start to analyze her. Maybe one that's a little bit past her prime from a condition standpoint. I'd like to clean her up in her chest, just lean her up a touch. Maybe just see her step down, just more genuine when you study her from behind. Young lady's chocolate doe that's going to round out the class. Love her foot, love her bone, love just the look that she gives you from the side. One that for me wants to really pinch and get narrow right there behind her shoulder. I'd like to open her up and see a notch more shape and genuine width there over her rack. Still an awfully nice female, really competitive class. Congratulations to these four exhibitors.
Congratulations to Class 6 winner Charlotte Wilson, weighing in at 131. Second place, Dylan Pittman. Third, Molly Oakley. And fourth, Della Scott. Entering the ring now is our championship drive for Weather Does. We'll place the top five. From Class 1, weighing in at 45 pounds, Athena Schwiart. From Class 2, Riley Seabrandt, weighing in at 84 pounds. From Class 3, Rebecca Gardner, weighing in at 92 pounds. From Class 4, Charlotte Wilson, weighing in at 105. From Class 5, we'll have Dylan Pittman, weighing in at 119. And from Class 6, we will have Charlotte Wilson, weighing in at 131. Once again, this is your champion drive. Exhibitors, parents, everybody looking on the crowd, please place your hands together for this group of Weather Does that are in the ring now. The judge, Bobby's going to have his work cut out for him. If we have to, we'll bring in the second placers or any other from other classes if necessary. A big thank you goes out to High Hog Farm and Ranch Equipment. They're sponsors of today's coffee and donuts before the show. You can find them in the hallway just outside the door of the Barnett Fieldhouse. Thank you to Fleet Farm. Check out their store for all your farm, ranch, outdoor, and supply needs. South Dakota Farmers Union, uniting farmers, ranchers, and rural communities to strengthen South Dakota. Thanks to Carla and her team for the support. Thank you to Outback Steakhouse. Make sure, exhibitors, parents, you've checked your registration bags for coupons and discounts. Cattle Business Weekly, producing our sale catalog and providing ring service. Texacoda Panels, thank you to Darren for his help and support. Tri-State Livestock News, what the ranchers read. And the Western Legacy Foundation, investing in the future by raising money for scholarships that benefit rural youth in agriculture.
Well, if you would, please put your hands together for all these kids here in the doe show and the weather show we had earlier. Certainly want to thank the committee that was allowed me to come up here and sort through your wethers and does today, and then your sheep there tomorrow. Certainly always enjoy the opportunity. The doe show I thought was awfully good. From start to finish, I think all the class winners, lots of quality, lots of depth of quality. You know, the one there out of the first class is just very correct in terms of how she's made and put together. I think one with some time, I think it's going to be an awfully nice project for the young lady. I thought that second class was really good, and there was two of them in there that were a little different in terms of their type and kind. I think this doe just puts together the pieces I like, just in terms of look, in terms of structure, in terms of her correctness. Next class there, that young lady in the pink shirt, just a very functional kind of a doe. One you like on her feet and legs, you like in terms of how she blends. Maybe one that you'd like to modify there in her hip and her hind leg structure, but still does a lot of really good things. We went to that next class, and I thought there was really 5 of them in there that were awfully nice. The one that wins that class and really that pair was awfully good. So good in terms of her body shape, so good in terms of her feet and legs. She puts together a lot of mass and power and still very ladylike in how she does it. A young man there out of that next class, again, functional, practical in terms of how she's put together. Maybe doesn't have the wow factor like a few of them out here, but I think an exceptional breeding piece, one that can lay down and really produce for you in the future. Then we round out there with that last class, and again, I think one that hit me pretty hard when she came in the gate there. She's powerful, she's correct in terms of how she's put together at that weight. She's still relatively fresh and correct from a condition standpoint. Once again, I think 6 exceptional ones out here. There's a few that went back in the barn that look forward to getting out here as we select your reserve. One more time, if you would, put your hands together for all these kids. I'll get you a top 5 breeding does.
Overall champion Weather Doe comes to us from Class 4, Charlotte Wilson, weighing in at 105. Reserve champion Weather Doe comes to us from Class 4. Second place, Casey Quang, weighing in at 101. Third place comes to us from Class 4 again, Bobby Burnwald, weighing in at 102. Fourth overall comes to us from Class 6, Charlotte Wilson, weighing in at 131. And fifth overall Weather Doe comes to us from Class 2, Riley Seabrand, weighing in at 84. Congratulations, exhibitors. Make sure that you grab your prizes, grab your goats, and once everybody's all gathered together, the interns will host you over to the Rushmore Hall. We'll take photos at the backdrop back there. So once everybody's gathered together, we'll make one big wave of goats over to where the beef are stalled. Once again, big thank you to Bobby Strecker for coming and judging our goat show today. We'll look forward to seeing you back tomorrow for our sheep show. Once again, thank you, exhibitors and parents, for being here. And everybody that was here watching the show, thank you for supporting the youth.